Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's video. So happy Thanksgiving and happy holiday season to all of you who celebrate any specific holiday. If you don't, then happy days. So enjoy the time, I guess. Today we're going to be talking about something a little different. And before I even head there, I want to tell you guys, I do love my car. Really enjoy this car. But what we're going to be touching upon today is some things that I really dislike or hate about my B5 S4. So let's get started. So I kind of got right into it and forgot to mention, please drop a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It definitely helps. And thank you guys again for all the support you've been giving recently. We really appreciate it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be talking about is an issue that I no longer have. But what I'm talking about here is the turbo placement on this car. So as we all know, this car, OEM, is twin turbo. So it has twin KO3s, which sit somewhere down there. So the turbos sit very deep under the engine, so you can't see them, you can't hear them. They're almost impossible to get to service them, and it just makes for a pain no matter what you're doing with the car. So anything that has to do with the turbos is an engine out service, which can be a pain and is a pain a lot of the time. So that's number one. It's just turbo placement. The fact that they're hidden under the engine right next to where the bell housing meets the motor, it's just, a big pain. It's something that I understand why it was done. It is a tight engine bay, as you can see. There's not really much space here, but still a pain. Still have to complain about it because, as humans, that's what we do. We complain. Luckily, I was able to solve this problem. As you can see, I no longer have the problem of the twin turbos or the turbos under the engine. My turbo sits right up top, right here. Got a Precision 5858 with a single turbo kit. So I no longer have this issue, but I know it's an issue that a lot of us with B5 S4s have run into and fully understand. So that's thing number one. It's just bad turbo placement. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about again derives from where the turbos are placed, and that is turbo selection. So I mentioned earlier that I have a Precision 5858 there, as you're seeing right now on the screen. And that's only possible because I went single turbo. The placement of the turbos on this car very much limit the turbos that you can install on the car. Luckily, this car's aftermarket has been very lively over the years, and selections keep growing even till this day. But they're not as big as they could be, and they are for other cars. And that's because of where these turbos are placed. You're constrained by space, you're constrained by the design of the exhaust manifolds, just constrained by overall packaging and what was done to make this engine fit into this bay. So that's reason number two. Wish we had a better turbo selection. And honestly, when you go single turbo, the possibilities are sort of endless. Staying twin turbo, you're limited to, about 10 or 12 selections for turbos, which is great. I'm glad we have a selection, but it definitely could be better. Okay, so for the third thing, we're still going to hang out here in the engine bay. So we're going to see right here, that is our driver's side strut mount, and over here is our passenger side strut mount. And now what you can observe is if we were to draw a straight line between those two, which I will put on the screen for you here, you'll see that the entirety of the motor sits in front of those strut mounts. So the motor sits in front of the wheel mounting locations. And that leads to some pretty intense understeer on these cars. This is a result of having Quattro on the cars, so the way it's set up with the torque and diff and everything, the engine has to sit pretty far forwards in order for this all to work. I love Quattro, I don't love understeer, but it's something we do have to live with on these cars. Luckily, if we were to go over to the back and install a beefier rear sway bar, which we will be doing soon, so stay tuned for that, it does help with the feel. So there are things you can do to fix this, just like you could do things to fix the turbo selection and the turbo location with the single turbo kit. Installing a beefier rear sway bar will definitely help with controlling that understeer feeling that you have. The next thing you could do to help that is getting some good tires. So for example, Michelin PS4S's, which is what we're running on this car, will help you get that steering feel back and also help control that understeer because you'll have more grip up front. Okay, so the next thing we're going to touch upon here is actually on the interior of the car. and that is the LCD screen here in the middle. As you can see here, I have a lot of dead pixels on mine. You could hardly read that press clutch to turn on engine. It's a problem with all these cars. They will literally all have this issue. The LCD screens just go bad, and it's not terribly hard to replace them as long as you have the right tools, but it is a pain, and if you have somebody else do it for you, it's also not cheap. So that's something to keep in mind if you are looking to get into one of these cars. The LCD will go bad, so you will have to replace it. Pain in the ass, but it's just something we have to deal with. And this one is one of those things that I actually do hate. Like, this is a hate, not a dislike. I hate that. Okay, so that's really all I had. I know I suck. I promised you guys like 5-6 things, and I think I came up with only 4. But I guess, is that bad? I really love my car, and I really enjoy having it, working on it, driving it, all the things about it. And you know what? Maybe that's the thing I dislike the most or hate the most. It's the stigma behind these cars, the stigma about them being unreliable, undrivable, not fun to own because they're never running. Maybe that's what I dislike the most about this car in particular, and actually about a lot of German cars, Audis, Volkswagens, BMWs. It's just, there's a stigma behind them about them being expensive, which fair enough, some of them are. But they are fun cars to drive. They can be reliable if you take care of them, and generally great cars. So yeah, that's my least favorite thing. It's just the stigmas formed around these things. So guys, this camera is getting really heavy. As you can see, I can't even keep it up anymore. So just make sure to like, subscribe. I really appreciate all the support you've been giving me recently. Let's please keep it up. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.